अभी कर देते हैं थोड़ा सा कार्यक्रम हो जाए। माइक म्यूट है, चालू है, म्यूट करना।
We are live. CK?
Yes, sir, we are live. We'll start in 10 seconds.
So, okay. So, you will start, na?
Yes, I would start. All right, so we are live. Good evening, namaskar to all the viewers of Startup Pathshala 2020. The wonderful journey of Startup Pathshala is coming to its end. Today is the day 30th of Startup Pathshala, and tomorrow we will celebrate the grand graduation day from 4 p.m. onward. So before we start today's session, I think it's only fair to thank each and everyone associated with this unique and impactful initiative. First and foremost, the leadership of Jabalpur Smart City Incubation Center, where the whole idea was conceptualized. Chairman sir, Executive Director sir, and CEO of Jabalpur Smart City, Shri Ashish Pathak ji, and the entire team of Jabalpur Smart City and Incubation Centers deserves a big round of applause. YI Bhopal, PII, under the leadership of Bhopal Chapter Chair Dr. Anuj Garg, the Association of YI has taken this entire initiative to the new unmatchable heights. So thank you so much, the team YI Bhopal and the Chapter Chair Dr. Anuj Garg. RGPV, the visionary Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil Kumar, has provided us the much needed strength and the outreach to this program. He has also mentored us, he has also guided us in various stages of this startup Pathshala. So we are very much thankful to you, sir. Kalchuri City Group Incubation Center and the person who has always supported entrepreneurship, Dr. Anupam Chokse, has been a great support to Startup Pathshala. Commonwealth Local Government Forum has always been there for startups and startup initiatives in Madhya Pradesh. Team Incubation Masters, who have been working round the clock from last 30 days to ensure the smooth execution of events and have been a great support for content preparation and mentors onboarding. All our speakers and experts, we have got more than 50 speakers in last 29 days. Their knowledge, wisdom, experience has made this program insightful, impactful, and impressive. Last but certainly not the least, our viewers, our students. You have been a great support, guys. You guys came online every single day, and few of you come online from 5 to 6, and most of you watch the videos later that night as per your schedule and comfort. Your constant engagement, questions, support, and feedback was the actual major differentiator of this program. Though the numbers don't matter much, but just for the record, 13,398 registrations came and 2.5 lakh plus viewership we achieved in the first 28 days of Startup Pathshala, and I think these numbers are phenomenal. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm definitely going to miss interacting with all the students and the experts from day after tomorrow, because tomorrow we are going to have the grand graduation day. So thank you everyone associated with this program. And now, before I begin the day, before we start the day 30th, I want to set the agenda first. And today we have lined up some of the brightest minds and leaders of our country, and that list includes National Chair YI Mr. Kartik Shah, Padma Shri awardee and former Infosys CFO and the chairman of Manipal Global Education Services and RN Capital, Mr. Mohan Das Pai, India's Sherpa to G7 and G20, and former Union Cabinet Minister Sri Suresh Prabhuji. And we'll also have the dignitaries, Dr. Anuj Garg.
I think we lost CK.
All right, so I think we can get started. And it is an absolute privilege for all of us to have Mr. Kartik Shah, the YI National Chair. Welcome, Kartik, to Startup Pathshala. And Kartik is a leader with difference. He has always been in action, and he works with the team towards the nation-building activities. He works with about 47 different chapters of Young Indians. So welcome, Karthik. I extend a warm welcome to Karthik on behalf of the entire team of Startup Pathshala and from all the members of YI Bhopal. Welcome,
Thank
Karthik.
you very much, CK, and thank you for those kind words. Respected panelists and my fellow students, a very good evening. And I would like to thank the team here and the Bhopal chapter, as well as all the people who are responsible for Startup Pathshala to have me with you and invite me on this platform and give me an opportunity to interact with the students. Um, I'm sure, among many other things, uh, that one of the key stakeholders of YI is Yuva and our Yuva network, and are the whole aspect of Yuva is to make the youth industry ready and create a positive environment of empathy, innovation, entrepreneurship. We build leaders with our youth, and that is what make us proud of having a network of 30,000 plus Yuva students across India. The whole agenda is to create a bridge between academia and industry, and our motto for the Yuva is learning beyond education, because education is very important, but the learning beyond education is extremely important to make yourself industry ready, to get into the world, to make things, to make a difference in the world. uh, I'm sure all of you have learned a lot of things on entrepreneurship, startups, all the funding, the technical aspects of it. But I'm going to talk a bit about the emotional aspects of having a startup. And the most important thing for a startup, or to start with entrepreneurship, or to become an entrepreneur, is to have a practical approach and not an emotional approach. Because when you have an idea, you get emotionally connected with it, and when you get connected with it, you sometimes forget the practical aspects of running with the idea. So there is a sandbox of constraints, and you have an idea, you run it through various parameters where you can think about scalability, the law of the land, does it harm the environment, does it address diversity of age, gender, and so forth. So if you want to sustain your idea and make it big, I think you need to always run it through the sandbox of constraints and see whether you can work with it for a longer time. And it is very important to begin with. It is very important to understand the viability of the project. It is important to detach from emotions in making it successful and taking a practical approach, while there is a constant check and calibration which should be done to ensure that it's still relevant. Because by the time of conception and the time of implementation, sometimes the duration, it is very important to ensure periodic checks of calibrations of whether the product and service is during the launch is relevant and practical, so that it's successful when you launch it. The most important is to start small. When you get the funding, or you don't get, whether you get a funding, you don't get the funding, but you need to start small, be frugal in your spending, have a 5 to 7 year expansion plan. You have to grow it. So growing is important, but just start small. It's important to fix your expenses and see that there are no overheads, no heavy overheads, so that you can survive such situations that we are going through now can be overcome very easily. So don't spend extravagantly till you start earning and having a steady revenue, or whether you establish the product or service. It's very important to be frugal. Uh, Finally, I would like to only say that failure is success defined inside out. So never stop trying. If you are relevant, all the problems will have a solution. And if you are hardworking and consistent, I'm sure there will be success. So don't let the success of others measure your success or failure. It is very important that you do not look at others when you are measuring up your successes. And thank you very much, and all the best for your endeavors. I'm sure these 30 days have given you more insight to startups, and I'm sure you're going to all do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karthik. And having you at Bhopal, it's a proud day and moment for us. This phenomenal 30 days further will lead to the 100 top ideas which will be incubated with the support of, again, Jabalpur Smart City, our VIA network click, and mostly by Rajiv Gandhi Pradyogiki Vishwavidyalaya. So, can I have a quick comment from our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir? After Karthik, our national head, you have been knowing about Young Indians. So, a quick word from you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Aziz ji, Karthik ji, Chandrakant ji, Anuj ji, it's a great day in this journey as far as the RGPV is concerned. As you all are aware that this is the beginning as far as the MP is concerned. MP is lacking as far as the IT infrastructure is concerned and the startup culture is concerned. Jabalpur has made a great start by having this incubation center. Bhopal is also coming up, and the RGPV is adding up. Now, because the RGPV has come up with its startup policy, wherein we have provided, as a policy, we will be providing support to 100 startups in a year. And the initial support is in the range of rupees 1 lakh, along with hardware and software facility at the RGPV or in any other incubation center also. So this is a great beginning. Ultimately, as you know, RGPV serves about 4 lakhs students. And about 500 technical institutions are affiliated to this university. And all these students are brand ambassadors of this university, and they have their own aspirations and all their dreams. Now it's our humble duty to fulfill all those dreams and aspirations. And Karthik may appreciate this fact. This is not possible by Indian industry to support each and everyone by providing jobs. You have to come up with your own business ideas. You have to be entrepreneurs. You have to support your own friends and families. You require an agile environment or ecosystem. You should be quite open. You should be quite vigilant. You should be open with new ideas. You should dream new ideas, and then you should have courage to work upon those ideas. And in that sense, this kind of a startup Pathshala, which is running since last 30 days, is a big milestone as far as the whole country is concerned. I don't think in the whole country this kind of initiative has been taken up by any university or a platform like YI, conducting a startup Pathshala continuously for 30 days and attended by about 13,000 students, mostly from RGPV. So this is really, really very great initiative. And the most wonderful aspect of this particular workshop or Pathshala is the effort which has been made by Anuj and CK by calling a lot more experts and from different fields and different experiences, and then sharing their views with the students, and then finally having question hour sessions, and every time sharing their views and then responding to them. It's a really great journey, very great journey. And I wish that the last 2 days also fulfills and adds up in the overall value of this startup Pathshala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Just to share, I am also an alumni of RGPV. CK, just 1 second I will take before sir comes. So I am also an alumni of RGPV, and having sir again sharing screen is a proud moment for me.
And so am I.
Yes, so is CK. So can we have some quick words with Ashish sir, the Jersey 7 of our team?
Good evening, all panelists, and really, it's really nice to heard something good about from Honorable BC sir, and RGPP and CII and Young India. I think these are the partners which was really behind all this so because we just conceptualize it, and I think without that, the partners like RGBP, Young India, and CII, it could not be possible to really make this effort commendable. So it was really a good journey, and I consider it just a beginning. In terms of MP's startup and incubation policies, and in future we will look forward some good initiative like this with the keynote partners like you, and I think together we can really make some change in whole ecosystem of the startup and upcoming challenges of the economic sector in MPs. Thank you very much, sir.
Nice.
So thank you, everyone. I think we have Honorable Suresh Prabhuji with us now. Sir, can you hear us? I think he will join exactly at 5. So, sir, coming to your point, VC sir, you rightly mentioned, it's the collaboration, and the first webinar that I attended after COVID, it was an Australian expert, and the point that he mentioned was collaboration. So after COVID, in the post-COVID era, if you want to survive, if you want to move faster, the key word is collaboration. Collaboration is the key. We cannot do everything together. Probably other person cannot do everything together, everything alone. So this is the time where we all need to come together, help each other, and build a strong ecosystem of Madhya Pradesh in this matter, because we all belong to this state. And that's why it's a privilege to have a partners like RGPV, YICII, CLGF, Click, so and of course initiated by Jabalpur Smart City. So it's a great move, and I think we have Sri Suresh Prabhuji joining us. Welcome, sir. Namaskar.
Suresh Prabhuji, namaskar.
Sir, welcome.
I think he has some trouble with his audio. Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah.
All right. Namaskar, sir. Good evening. Welcome to Startup Pathshala.
Yeah.
So hope you can hear us.
Yeah, absolutely. Please. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we welcome you to the state of Madhya Pradesh, and viewers, around 15,000 plus Yuva student. I can hear their voices, seeing you online. On behalf of the entire team of Startup Pathshala, I, Anuj Garg, Chapter Chair of YI Bhopal, along with my National Chair and the co-panelists, along with my National Chair Kartik Shah, Dr. Sunil Kumar Gupta sir, and Ashish ji, welcome you, sir, at this Startup Pathshala. Sir, everyone knows sir is the Sherpa to Honorable Prime Minister of India for G20, G7 and Member of Parliament. Sir is known as a man of action, having a penchant for undertaking reforms, scripting turnarounds, and achieving superlative results by working in mission mode. Sir is an advocate for decisive growth-driven change. He is well respected for his impeccable integrity, passion, and commitment towards the society at large. Sir, it's a proud privilege, and we thank you for accepting our invitation. I hand it over to the curator of this entire Startup Pathshala, Chandrakant Tiwari, from here to take us to this magnificent show all our viewers are looking forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anuj sir, and good evening, Suresh Prabhuji. It's an honor to have you with us along with the other panelists. And before we start the session today, I would request CEO Jabalpur Smart City, Ashish Pathak ji, to brief you about Startup Pathshala, how is what started, and then we'll move on from there.
Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for joining us for this event, sir. So during COVID-19 lockdown, Jabalpur Smart City Incubation Center thought of starting an initiative where students can leverage the time, and thanks to the digital platform available, we conceptualized this Startup Pathshala concept. And in 30 days, we got 13,398 registrations and 2.5 lakh viewership so far. So we are delighted to share with you that, sir, we received around 995 startup ideas, and our team has shortlisted 100 startup ideas for seed funding and 1 year incubation support. So we are honored to have with us, and our students are excited for lively discussion with you. Also, sir, we are trying to end this program, so our team would be preparing a compendium consisting of top 100 ideas and sending it to state as well as to the central government. We would also like to share with your team, sir. Thank you very much for joining us, sir, and very warm welcome from all our partners and students, sir. Thank you very much. Over to you, CK.
Thank you, sir, for talking about Startup Pathshala. And just a small, I would like RGPV Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil Kumar to extend the welcome to Suresh Prabhuji.
Suresh Prabhuji, namaskar. Welcome from RGPV Bhopal, which is a state technical university of Madhya Pradesh. It is having about 4 lakh students and about 500 affiliating institute. This is the only technical university of the state. And about 13,000 students of this particular university is attending this Startup Pathshala. So we are really fortunate to have you here, sir. We know your personality, and we know you the way you have contributed in the Indian economy. You have a lot more ideas. So we are really fortunate, and our students will feel privileged that today they will be having interaction with you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, VC sir. And now just a final word from YI National Chair, and then we'll begin with the opening remarks of Suresh Prabhuji. Yes, Karthik.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Welcome on this forum. Sir, we would like to brief a bit about YI. And Young Indians was formed in the year 2002. And the past 18 years, we have created a movement for the young Indian youth to converge, lead, co-create, and influence India's future. An integral part of Confederation of Indian Industry, we engage with the minds of 30,000 UA students across India towards nation building, thought leadership, and youth leadership through a network of members between the age of 21 to 45 across India, present in 46 cities. During this recent unprecedented times, it gives us a sense of satisfaction and pride that all our chapters are actively involved in COVID relief work and help the cities with various needs, impacting around approximately 7.5 lakh beneficiaries across India. And we have not only engaged our members in COVID relief work, but also have been influencing the mind of youth on the fandom of Swadeshi. We are creating dialogues and doing huddles to influence a positive ecosystem for economy and growth. In the area of international engagements, we are the founding members of the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. And for the past 10 years, where our primary focus is collaboration and fostering an entrepreneurial environment, a peer-to-peer learning and a learning from global industry leaders through summits and dialogues. We are also looking forward to collaborate more on the front where India will host it in the year 2022. So, sir, we would love to hear from you on how we globally align as a country.
Thank you, Karthik. And without further ado, and with your permission, Suresh Prabhu sir, I would like to kickstart today's session with your opening remarks.
So बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे इस पाठशाला में आपने स्वीकृति दी, इसके लिए मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। मैं यही सोच रहा था कि पाठशाला में आने के लिए या तो पढ़ने के लिए आना चाहिए, तो मैं तो आया हूँ, या सिखाने के लिए आना चाहिए, वो मेरा हक नहीं बनता, क्योंकि यहाँ पर तो वाइस चांसलर साहब ही खुद बैठे हुए हैं। इसलिए मैं शायद यही काम करूँगा जो पाठशाला में आने के बाद विद्यार्थी करते हैं, कि मैं पढ़ने की कुछ कोशिश करूँगा, आप सबसे जानने की कोशिश करूँगा। But I am really feeling that I am in a way an odd man out. Why? Because on one side, there is a CEO of a smart city, and I am not smart. On the other hand, there is this national president as well as the president of Young India, Bhopal, to the present here, neither am I young. So I am not smart nor young. And again, I can see Dr. Sunil Kumar, the Vice Chancellor, who happens to be the custodian of all the knowledge, and which I don't possess. So I really feeling odd man out. But I can see probably a ray of hope when I can see there is an incubation center master. So probably you will incubate me. So probably that's the role, that is the box I like to fit myself in. And therefore, I really would like to thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to be here, hoping that that's the right place for me to be there. But let me congratulate you. Actually, I really feel Jabalpur, of course, is probably not just a smart city, probably could be the smartest city, because it already has all the ingredients that are really necessary to be a smart city. Beautiful place, very green, very clean, very neat, very tidy. More importantly, it also has a huge army base. Not very far from there is one of the best tiger reserves. I had been to all these places, that's what I'm saying. And also as a railway minister, I had laid down the foundation for many things, including for airport. And therefore, as a different capacity as aviation minister. I clearly see that Jabalpur would be the right smart city. Smart city presupposes that it must have smart solutions. But one of the smartest thing to do for a city is to not lose what we have. So in the quest of getting something better, we should not lose what we have. And that's a beautiful natural surrounding you have, and I'm sure you like to conserve it, preserve it, thanks to cantonment area, but also try to extend it into the non-cantonment area and make it a very green, beautiful city that it already is, and we like to make it better. Because in the quest of technology, we should not lose what we already have, and that's the natural capital we should try to conserve, preserve, and build on that. The great thing about the CEO, I really want to congratulate you. I wish you have CEOs like you all over the country. What has he done? He has collaborated with others. But receptivity to get new ideas, crowdsource them, and try to involve young minds into thinking about startups is the best thing that can be done. Because what is the heart of a city? Or what is the soul of a city? Heart can be easily outsourced. You can nowadays transplant a heart. But soul cannot be transplanted or cannot be outsourced. What is the soul of a city? It's the citizenry. The citizen city, if they don't feel it's my city, the city can never become smart. And to get that ownership, the people feeling that it's my city, it's the best thing is to do is to those who feel it's my city to give ideas how to make it better. So this is the best thing that you have done, and I would like to congratulate you for that. In fact, I have dealt with startup program as a commerce industry minister. And I've been to all over the world. I've been to all over the world, not for startup, but for many reasons. I've been to about 144 countries. But I've never seen the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of urge to do something different than what you can see in India. And Vice Chancellor Sahab, you can even see it more in the universities. At a young age, before they're regimented, see, this is the problem of our education system is that in the course of giving them education, we try to regiment their minds. So what they lose, they gain knowledge, but do lose the originality. And for startup, you need originality. You need ideas. The very fact that startup is going to think about differently, and that's why it distinguishes itself from being a normal activity. And if a startup therefore does not embrace new ideas, it can still be a startup technically, but not a kind of startup that will run long run. Therefore, to have innovative ideas is something the most critical part and a distinguishing feature of our startup community in India. I have seen that, and I keep giving the example. I used to go to universities. The people, the young boys who don't have mustaches, are thinking about some idea that is unimaginable. And I was asking, how did you get this idea? So I'm sure young minds, that's why the Young India and the Young India Bhopal and Young India nationally makes sense. This is the mind, which are virgin minds, which are the minds which are not yet adulterated. They are like pure air that you can see more in Jabalpur. And therefore, it's a place where you can actually inculcate ideas. If the soil is polluted, degraded, you cannot never produce anything in it. So what you need is a fertile ground for ideas. And the fertility comes because of virginity as well as other reasons. That's why I really congratulate and thank the young minds in India of doing something better. Now, I would request both, of course, the incubation center as well as others, and particularly my friend in Smart City, the CEO. Well, the problem is the smart ideas to become a fusion and resulting into a business concept, because the idea is idea. Then it travels the distance, becomes a concept, but has to travel a long more distance and must have that ability to survive before it becomes a business venture. And a business venture is what really we want out of an idea. And to do that, of course, you need incubation and many things, but most important thing, and that is, how do you ensure that our regulation encourages flourishing of these ideas? I remember as Commerce Industry Minister, I used to always call on one side of the table all the regulators, other side with the startup people. Why? Because regulators feel that they have a regulation. I made my regulation. If it fits into it, I will accept it. Otherwise, it's not a good idea. But the very fact that they have made departure from the past, and that's why it's a startup, means the past is one which guides the regulation. In a way, regulation is still stuck in the past, whereas the new ideas are trying to embrace new opportunities. So how do you make, and that's what I request the CEO, how do you make a regulation which can allow these new ideas to flourish? Regulation needed. I'll tell you something which lack of regulation is disaster. But regulation which stifles the new ideas is a catastrophe. So how do you choose between a new idea which should be allowed to go and not become the stillborn? At the same time, how do you make a regulation work in a proper manner? Like a CEO, he has to regulate. If he doesn't regulate, there will be a chaos in the city. But how can you have a regulation which will ensure that happens? Other aspect of the whole idea of smart cities, it's technology driven, ideas induced, but also must be something which takes into consideration improving quality of lives of people. If you can have a fantastic infrastructure, but quality of life is not guaranteed or doesn't improve along with that, what is the use of that? So what is that quality of life parameters? So I would request Dr. Sunil Kumar Saab, can we set up to encourage new startup to come in? One is, of course, you have done a very good job. I really want to congratulate the CEO. I think, as I said at the beginning, the smart CEO for a smart city. But I am just saying, can you think about what are those quality of life improvement parameters?
Wonderful.
Which is what we should try to focus on, so that people living in the city must feel, I am enjoying a quality of life far, far superior than a non-smart city life. If you do that, then you raise the bar. So other cities will be encouraged to do that, something like this. And I will tell you something. The quality of life is not necessarily measurable in terms of investment of capital that goes into it. It's an outcome oriented. It's not investment oriented. And outcomes which can actually measure these smart city parameters will be very important. Quality of life should be done on that basis. And to do that, can we now then bring quality of life parameters, and the innovation centered around it. I am sure you would have done it, but I'm just saying, if it is not already done, you can focus on that. Second aspect is, which I had done as a commerce industry minister, I had started on the 6th of December every year. I started in 2017, actually 2018, the first roundtable on startup on one side and the global financing community on the other side. Because one of the challenge, besides regulation, that the startup face is financing. How do you do financing? So we actually I had bought first time, and I already declared that time it will be annual event, and it should be continued like that, is to bring financing community globally to talk to the ideas community. I will not call them startup community, and link both of them together and try to bring desired outcomes. Third aspect, which is a challenge for startup. Here I'm sure the CEO has provided. In fact, it is a very interesting idea. The smart city is already guaranteeing them business in a way. You are telling them, give us solution, then you can implement it here. But the other problem of startups is, how do you make them, their products, their services, their ideas to be scaled up in marketing? So marketing is a problem. And we had also worked on that and are trying to create a digital platform for that. Nowadays, e-marketing is very easy. It can be done in a larger scale. So I think we are trying to work on that. So I think I can go on and on, but I have to also go for other program, as well as you may have some other ideas to around it. So I will tell you only few things before I'm open to being questioned. But I would tell you something, that we call it an ecosystem which is needed for a startup. I can see all the key elements of the ecosystem present here. This is an amazing thing which I think has to be replicated. Bringing together all those necessary players who can make it happen. I don't know, the Incubation Masters, is it an organization? How does it work?
It's an organization, sir. We support colleges, universities, and smart cities to build and manage their incubation centers.
Okay, for all smart cities.
Yes.
Is it for all smart cities? Okay.
I mean, not all smart cities. Whoever wants, we just serve them. We just help them.
Okay. So I think incubation is very important, because there is an infant mortality rate in India, which is measured when you prepare the Human Development Index. So I think we should not have a infant mortality rate for startups, because that's very important. Otherwise, startup will just die even before it can see the light of the day. So this is very important in the incubation part. But while you are incubating them, while you are probably helping them to get angel funding, is very important that all of the key elements which are necessary for the startup to succeed are tied up at that stage itself. You provide them that necessary support. I remember people used to ask me, how can Indian startup community grow when you don't have Silicon Valley? I say, we don't have Silicon, but we can have a, not Silicon Valley, but Silicon platform. Because Silicon can provide a platform for this. That's a digital platform. Why you need Valley? Why you want to go into the valley? You need not go into the valley at all. You can live on the surface, on the plains, use a silicon as a new method of doing business, and therefore it can be done in a proper. But it should not again be fragmented, and it should not again be compartmentalized. That I'll look after only incubation. So incubation is not just an activity which is standalone. At that time only you should tie up for all other relevant and necessary connections, and then only it will really survive and succeed. But I will once again thank you, congratulate you. And Karthik mentioned about G20. India will be also startup in 2022, because they'll be starting G20 for the first time. So I think all of you can support the startup, and we can definitely make sure that we'll do it in a manner that befits India's status under leadership of Prime Minister Modi, who has always been acknowledged as a leader of the global community, and he's already playing a very leading role into many of these global affairs, which will continue to do. And India will play a leadership role, not just in terms of hosting it, but will also take up such issues which are so relevant for the global community. I always maintain that when G20 happens, we are not to be concerned only about those who are in the room, but those who are not in the room. We have to think about those countries who are not part of G20 because their economies are not big enough, but those are the people whose lives do matter. So there is a movement going on in the US, Black Lives Matter. I would call, in my perception, the movement is every life matters. We have to make sure that all the 7.5 billion people of the world, how do you make sure that under India's leadership, when India will be hosting G20, how can you care for the whole humanity and not just for the G20 countries alone? So we like to do that and we like to work on that. So I'm very happy to see my dear friend and real, you can call him as a guardian, father figure, everything else for the startup community. Mohandas Pai is already here. So I think he being here, I have now become, my role has become irrelevant. I was already saying
No,
that
no.
I'm here.
Suresh, ma'am.
But he being here, I
You
think
are
I'm
the
making,
big guy.
so I'm making room for the right
Inspiration.
person to take over the proceedings. So I'm really happy to be here along with him. So all the best to you. And as I said, beginning, we'll be happy to answer questions. But now, good thing is, whatever question is posed to me, I can request Mohandas Pai to answer. So thank you very much. I really look forward to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the very humble and very insightful opening remarks. And with that, we also welcome Shri Mohandas Pai, the chairman of Manipal Global Education Services and RN Capital. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Startup Pathshala. So, it's a rare opportunity for all of us to see both the veterans together from different sectors. So हम बिल्कुल भी अपना समय वेस्ट नहीं करेंगे and we want to make the most of this opportunity. And as Suresh sir said, we'll definitely ask questions. We want to know more about things, and we'll shoot the questions to both of you, sir.
Okay.
Right. So first question is about the one that we got from a student, that the Startup India program. It was launched in 2016, and the startup ecosystem in India has grown phenomenally since then. But what is your take on the current development around the startup ecosystem, and where do you see it's heading from here on, especially after taking a COVID hit?
My view is COVID-19 is going to be a force multiplier for startups. Let me tell you why. Now, the digital era was 3 to 5 years away in India. Suddenly, the digital world is on top of us. Now, you know what Mr. Suresh Prabhu said about Prime Minister Modi? You must admire that man. He thought about giving 375 million Indians a bank account. He made them open a bank account. He got India Stack. He got Aadhaar. He got eKYC. He made all the building blocks. There's so many people who laughed and said it's not possible. He got it done. He did DBT. He's transferred 12 lakh crores. Now everything is shut down. 80 crore people of this country have got some benefit from the government, money to their bank account. Women have got their gas stove free of cost. And about construction labor has got money. Now the MSMEs are getting money. Everything is electronic. And this is not a rich country, this is a poor country. And suddenly everything is electronic, everything is available instantaneously. Many countries are struggling to reach, even in the US, they're talking to banks and sending checks. Japan is a great country, they're sending checks. Okay? Just imagine the vision of that man who got all this done. The building blocks have been done and done for the poorest of the poor. You see, it's okay for you and me who are well educated with a job to get all this done. We are living in urban areas. In the rural area, in the small village, everybody has got it. And now, even for children, there are some 25 TV channels giving them education. So I think the future for all startups is very bright, primarily because the digital era has come to you with force, and you are, as a startup in the digital era, reaching everybody digitally. But the big challenge is there is a gap of 6-8 months where you have to survive. So you got to make sure everything is there for you to survive. You must cut your costs. Suresh ma'am, what is your view? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think, see, one thing all startups must have, which I can see always in abundance with my dear friend Mohandas Pai, is
Cash.
a never-ending optimism. That is absolutely important. If you don't have a positive frame of mind, you can never succeed. Can anybody start a business saying that I am definitely going to lose money? If he's going to start a business and he states first day, he says, I am very sure I am not going to succeed in the business. You never succeed in the business. He will tell you that the best of doctor in the world cannot cure a patient when the patient doesn't want to get cured. Impossible. And therefore, if you don't start on a positive note, you never succeed. Now just imagine, you have a twin advantage. One is that in India, the entrepreneurship is in abundance. Every person is an entrepreneur, actually speaking. Every taxi driver is an entrepreneur. Every farmer is an entrepreneur. Every shopkeeper is an entrepreneur. So we are seeing entrepreneurs all around us. It is not a case in most of the, not if not most, at least all the countries in the world. Even some of the big economies, the business was controlled by the state. So there was no entrepreneurship virtually. Unlike that in India, we can see entrepreneurship around. So that's the one advantage. So your neighbor is an entrepreneur. Your person staying opposite of your house is also an entrepreneur. Person staying upstairs is also an entrepreneur in some form or other. If that is the case, that's first advantage. The second advantage is you are born in a country and living in a country which has a great future ahead. So at macro level, the country is going to prosper. And I'm very sure that we'll be a $5 trillion economy. It's, of course, obviously, it is delayed now. When I prepared the plan for $5 trillion economy, the time frame that we have decided for ourselves is obviously delayed because even the IMF has said yesterday that the world is contraction of world economy will be so huge and so unprecedented that even it might surpass even the Great Depression of 30s. But India certainly has a tremendous future. It will be delayed doesn't mean the future has changed. The future is there. The time span has changed a bit. But that means that you are in the right country. So just imagine your neighbors, your whole neighborhood is actually full of entrepreneurs and you yourself are born in that neighborhood. Secondly, you are born in a country which has so much of potential to grow. Then also our country, nobody can say that there are no challenges. I can see if there are no challenges, where is the entrepreneurship? If water is completely available, food is available, nothing is contaminated, all cities are smart cities, obviously there is no role. But because there is everything has to be built now, there is a role. And therefore, we are also have these opportunities because of challenges. And therefore, you can develop a business solution along these challenges. This is a great opportunity. And therefore, I can see, I'll tell you one example which I keep giving. I was a power minister at a time when power was not available. So people used to call me, you are a powerful minister. I'm saying, I'm the powerless minister, there is no power. And then I brought a law, we changed the entire thing because of that one law, Electricity Act. Now we have got surplus. Nobody could imagine when I used to tell that time, he says, minister is mad, he's speaking something nonsense. How can India be power surplus? But we have become power surplus because of that. At that time, there was a person I met from Bihar. The average cost of power that time was something like 3 rupees, for example. He was selling power at 12 rupees. And that too in Bihar, which is obviously not the highest income state in the country. So how do you manage? He says, I have found out a place that there is no power. So the people have a choice in that district, either no power or buy power at a higher rate. So this is an entrepreneurship. So what was the challenge was no power. We created a business model around it. So I think you have to build on that. Now startup program, I've handled it. I can tell you something, has a tremendous potential to be guiding and becoming a mentor for the startup units of India. And for that, we need to work as partners. And there are many examples of that. I don't want to take more time, but I can tell you something, that startups in India, please be sure, be confident, number one, be positive, come out with different ideas. Don't borrow the idea from your neighbor. You'll never succeed. If you look at a startup idea, which is already being put by somebody else, then you'll not succeed. Be original. It has challenges when you are original, but that's the only way you can have a long-term future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think
Now you know why Minister Suresh Prabhu was the first person to create that big vision of $5 trillion.
Yeah, actually, because Mohandas is right. We also need a vision. See, basically, a country like India, we must have a shared vision. For a development of a country, we need shared vision, and that shared vision cannot be fully abstract. It has to also have some numbers attached to it, so you can understand. See, for example, I say I want to win a gold medal in next Olympics. Very good idea. That itself is a good mission. But gold medal in what? Which field? In gymnastics, okay? In gymnastics, which subfield of gymnastics? Then you find out that I want to be an athlete and win that medal. Then what is that previous record of that athlete you can break? Only then you can win the gold medal. So that becomes the numbers. That the record was of so many meters, I want to break it in such a time. So the numbers are as important as the broad vision. And that's what Mohandas is mentioning. So I did it with that purpose.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I'll just take a few more questions to both of you, because we are sitting in Madhya Pradesh. We are talking to the startups of Madhya Pradesh. Sir, we did the exercise. We collected about 995 startup ideas, and most of them have come from rural sector, like cities like Damoh, Rewa, Shahdol, some interior part of Madhya Pradesh. उनका ये कहना है सर कि innovation में when we talk about startups, we always talk about bigger cities. हालांकि आजकल हम छोटे शहरों की भी बात करते हैं, but still I think we are still in early days of innovation in Bharat, if I may say so. So what is your take on that? Country जहाँ पे 70% population rural sector से आता है, वहाँ पे rural sector में startups को promote करने के लिए और वहाँ के startup culture को strengthen करने के लिए और क्या किया जा सकता है? Sorry, I'm asking this question in Hindi, but you may wish to answer that in English or Hindi, whatever you prefer, sir.
Just, my view is very simple. There are innovators all across India. I think Minister Suresh Prabhu has traveled all over in the rural areas because he has contested elections. He has met many more people. He'll tell you very clearly that innovation is there all over. Now, what is the difference between urban area and rural area? Urban area, there's an ecosystem of angels, ecosystem of companies, ecosystem of users, ecosystem of funders, etc. In the rural area, there is no ecosystem. So we have to provide the ecosystem. So we need a grant giving mechanism through incubators where any rural youth coming with the idea will get a grant. For example, in Karnataka, we have got a 100 crore grant fund given by the state. We do something called Elevate, where 1,000 companies come, and the companies you finally win, 100 companies, get 50 lakhs each as a grant. So here, for every district, you can have a small program, 2-3 crores, where you give a grant of 5-6 lakh to 20 companies. Because once you give the grant, you are encouraging them for entrepreneurs saying, I like the idea. You must encourage them. That's point number one. Second, you must run a very strong training program. Because every startup, a startup requires 3 kinds of people. One is a visionary, like Suresh Mam said. A visionary who can think of the idea, grow the idea. Other should be a techie, a hacker who can write technology. Third should be a hustler who's a marketing guy. Everything is about marketing. So they will not be exposed because they stay in a rural area. They must be taught, they must be exposed, they must give case studies, they must do rehearsals, you must train them because they're not polished, they're uncut diamonds. Okay? And the third thing what you must do is you must get them a good mentor, a mentor who understands rural areas. And the fourth thing, you must connect them to angel funds. Now there are platforms like, Less Venture, which is a platform of angels, right? And you must connect them to platforms who can raise capital for them, connect them to platforms like, Indus Entrepreneurs, etc. Connect them for the Indian Angel Network, etc. So they listen in, they talk to people, they connect, they come to know. So once they come up to a stage, they're very good. At Infosys, we used to hire 30,000-40,000 people every year, and we should train them. I found that 50% of people came from rural areas, small towns. They had passed out tests. They were brilliant, all right, but they could not talk very much. They wore different clothes, their habits. They could not use the commode. Okay, they never seen a commode in their life. So we took them to Mysore. We put them in a beautiful campus, air-conditioned room, beautiful cafeteria, big gym, big grounds. We show them what the world-class thing is. Then, after 6 months, they were as good as anybody else. There's no difference in anybody. It's just the background that you come. Now, your job is to create that ecosystem and the background so they can scale up. And once they come there, let them loose. And then there are social venture capital funds like Avishkar. All right? Avishkar, we got Vinith Rai and others. You must network with them because they got a focus on impact and ask them to come and talk to them so that they can be part of the mentoring ecosystem. And then lastly, you must get the state governments to come on and create some grant giving mechanism, some
CK, you can continue with your questions till Mohandas Pai joins us.
मैं एक
So Suresh ji may continue. Suresh, okay,
नहीं
fine.
ये आप ये जो आपने सवाल पूछा था कि देहाती क्षेत्र में रहने वाले लोगों के लिए क्या उपलब्धियां हो सकती है, तो मैं तो आपको कहूंगा कि सबसे ज्यादा आपके लिए जो चुनौती भी होती है, लेकिन साथ ही में जो बड़ी मात्रा में आप उपलब्धियों को हासिल कर सकते हैं वो ज्यादा करके देहाती क्षेत्र में है। इसका कारण ये है कि शहर में जब लोग आते हैं तो ये सही है कि शहर में रहने के बाद लोगों की जिंदगी का जो स्तर होता है ये हमेशा ये सही नहीं है कि ऊपर की तरफ ही जाता है, लेकिन ये भी सही है कि देहाती क्षेत्र में चुनौतियां ज्यादा रहती है। जहाँ चुनौतियां हैं वहां पे आपको ज्यादा काम करने का मौका भी मिलेगा। और फिर मोहनदास जी जो बता रहे थे आपको, ये इकोसिस्टम जो होनी चाहिए वो वहां नहीं होती है, लेकिन आजकल इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी की वजह से आपको वहां पे भी वो सुविधा मिल सकती है जो आप शहर में आने के बाद ही पा सकते हैं। ऐसी जो पहले स्थिति थी आज वो बदलाव आ सकता है। और मैं आपको पहले जब मैं बोल रहा था तो मैंने एक उदाहरण दिया था बिहार के एक जिले का, जहाँ पर बिजली वहां पर जब नहीं थी तब लोगों ने किस तरह से वो बिजली की समस्या को हल करने के लिए अपना एक खुद का कारोबार किस तरह से उसके ऊपर खड़ा किया। मुझे लगता है ये भी अपने सामने एक बहुत बड़ा उदाहरण है। मुझे लगता है अब देहात में रह के भी वहाँ की समस्याओं को जुड़ते हुए उस समस्या को हल करने के लिए आप एक अच्छी तरह से एक कारोबार का तकरीब बनाइए जिसके आधार पर आप खुद भी अपना कारोबार कर सकते हैं और साथ में वहाँ के लोगों की समस्या को भी हल कर सकते हैं।
सीके जो सुरेश जी कह रहे हैं उसी में थोड़ा सा मैं ऐड ऑन करना चाहता हूँ। आपने एकलव्य के बारे में सुना होगा। एकलव्य को द्रोणाचार्य को ढूंढना पड़ा था, लेकिन विद द डिजिटल वर्ल्ड विच इज अवेलेबल इन द फॉर्म ऑफ द्रोणाचार्य, रूरल सेक्टर में कोई भी व्यक्ति एकलव्य बन सकता है एंड ही कैन एक्सेल। सो दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ दिस डिजिटल वर्ल्ड एंड वी शुड टेक एडवांटेज ऑफ द सेम।
Right, sir. And I think thank you so much for these pinpointed suggestions from Mohandas Pai sir and Suresh sir. And we'll definitely incorporate that with this Startup Pathshala program. We try to incorporate few. The funding part is still missing. And I'm sure the suggestion that you gave, Mohan sir, we'll try to partner with them. We'll try to get that grant and the fund in the rural sector of Madhya Pradesh. Thank you so much for that. And one last question to both of you before I let Suresh Prabhu sir go. I know, sir, you had given us only 30-minute slot, but I would request the extension for about a couple of minutes. I want to take one important question from both of you, sir, with your permission.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sir, it's about the MSME sector, because we know that most of the jobs come from MSME sector, and now we have got the veteran, one from the corporate, one from the government. So first question is from you, Suresh Prabhu sir. Is that 5 trillion economy, what is the expectation from industry, from government? And then the same question to Mohandas Pai sir, what is the vice versa, the expectation from corporates to government? Maybe few points.
See, firstly, you must also realize that a share of industry in the GDP, today's GDP of $2.9 trillion is about 16%. Our target originally when the Make in India program was launched was to take it to 25%. But when I prepared this plan for $5 trillion, I had said that we'll raise it to 20% from present 16%. So in the $3 trillion economy, or rather $5 trillion economy, 20% will be a $1 trillion economy, which will come from industry. Now, industry is not just manufacturing. Industry has different elements to it. Each of that together will make a $1 trillion economy. And in fact, we have prepared a detailed plan, not by the ministry, because we can prepare any plan. So that's a good part of any ministry. But we had made it with the industry. the people who actually manufacture, those who are hands-on people. We had prepared that plan, and therefore we have exactly ready. There's no time, otherwise I would have explained to you more. In that, the backbone of that will be small and medium enterprises, or you can even say micro and small and medium enterprises. For the micro plan, I had done something different. I had said separately that if all the districts of India start growing at 3% more than the normal growth, India GDP will be 3% more than the normal growth. So we have taken 6 districts in India for which the plan has been prepared by the IIMs and National Council for Applied Economic Research, ready, which I done it 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. And there, started preparing for it, was ready about more than a year ago. Now the point is, this would encourage not just medium enterprises and small enterprises, also micro enterprises. Because in the district, if you start growing, like for example, the CEO of Jabalpur city is actually in charge of the city. But look at the extended district part of it. The whole district has a potential to have a lot of economic enterprises. And in fact, there is to be, if I'm not mistaken, I'm speaking on memory, in Jabalpur, there is to be dal mills many years ago. There is to be a lot of these processing units which to happen, because Jabalpur is also sitting and very close to the agriculture part of India. In fact, Madhya Pradesh is not just heart of India, but also actually heart of agriculture part of India. In fact, the Khandwa rice and everything, of course, not in Jabalpur, little far away, the Khandwa wheat. But I'm saying that Jabalpur, where the districts will become the growth centers. And that would mean that the growth will happen from district and then go upwards. So there is no need for afterthought of inclusive development. It will automatically be included. And therefore, the micro enterprise, the MSMEs, will be the heart of it. So we have prepared one micro level plan, that is $2 trillion of industry, but also a very micro level plan, going back to as small a unit as a district to make sure that the economic activity the district will propel India to reach their overall target of 5 trillion. And when you talk about industry and small scale industry, it also includes services. Services are even today more than 60% of India's GDP. So all small enterprises who can be responsible for either industry or services, or even in a way something to do with agriculture, put together will be the backbone of India's economy. In fact, even today they are, and there will be more. And also when we talk about linking India as part of global supply chain, you know which are the units mainly in global supply chain? Most of them are SMEs, not just in India, all over the world. And therefore, MSMEs will be the heart of development of tomorrow's India. And that's why we have to do it. The startup will actually be linking them to the MSMEs. They will become MSMEs soon. They're startup today, will become part of that. So just imagine the whole chain of events beginning with a thought, where the startup is born. The thought is the beginning, can lead to they becoming part of a global supply chain, and all that event just was the incubation, but much more than that. And that's what is the expectation that Mohandas will talk about from the government, because we divided the question in 2 parts. What can be done and what is the expectation? So incubation is not just incubating a child or an infant, but incubating even adults, because that's what MSMEs are. And therefore, we must try to take them forward. So I think that is how it should be, and I think it will be. We have to put in a lot of effort. In fact, I remember I used to put about 20 hours of my 24 hours into doing something for all these activities. So I really can tell you that not heart, body, soul, everything was put in. So I'm sure we'll get a good result.
Thank you, sir. And Mohan sir, your comments and the expectation from government. Yes, sir.
So, am I permitted to go? Or?
Sir, if you want, you can hear what Mohandas has to say. Then
I don't want to miss what he's saying, but somebody else is waiting to hear from me in the other program. That's why I have to go there.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much. And I once again thank you, and also thank Mr. Mohandas Pai for guiding this future deliberations of this program. So thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to the Jabalpur Smart City CEO. Great. Congrats to the Vice Chancellor I think
Sir, namaskar, sir.
Kumar ji,
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion, sir.
incidentally, I just become a chancellor of a new university. So I
Oh,
become the
wonderful.
chancellor of a new university. So I got more relations with.
Wonderful, sir. So wonderful, sir. Wonderful. In that way, now you are in my biradri.
We'll work together. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, my other friends, and really looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much. All the
Thank you
best.
very much.
Thank you
so
very much.
for being with us. We look forward to see you again, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I think he will join us very shortly. So I think it was a great conversation with Suresh Prabhu sir and Mohan Das Pai sir. Mohan Das Pai sir will join us soon, and I
सीखे
think
सीखे जो भी अभी बातचीत चल रही थी उसी को मैं हिंदी में थोड़ा सा कंटिन्यू करना चाहूंगा। देखिए,
सर।
मैं खासतौर से अपने उन विद्यार्थियों के लिए जो रूरल बैकग्राउंड से हैं, सुरेश प्रभु जी ने कुछ बहुत अच्छी बातें हम लोगों को बताई। पहली बात तो उन्होंने ये कहा कि इंडिया जो है एज ए कंट्री, इसको हमेशा बहुत चैलेंजिंग माना जाता है, और जहां अपॉर्चुनिटीज वहीं होते हैं जहां चैलेंजेस होते हैं। अगर आपकी लाइफ में चैलेंजेस नहीं है तो अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं होंगी। सो फॉर ऑल द स्टार्टअप कम्युनिटीज हु वांट टू डू स्टार्टअप्स, India is a country of challenges, so herein you have a lot more opportunities as startup. Now Mohandas Pai ji is back, so he can continue.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Mohandas Pai. Yeah. Again.
Thank you. You know, this you asked the question about MSMEs. Now, what are the challenges MSMEs face? First challenge is finance, because we are a capital short country and we require more money. So I think we need to have much more funding for MSMEs, and this 3 lakh crore is a very good idea. Second, this 50,000 crore fund of fund is a good idea. 20,000 crore credit guarantee fund for stress assets is a good idea. So we need to have more funding, because in America, the funding depends upon your idea, and the funding has a price which takes the risk. We should not ask for lower interest rates from banks, because if I give money to MSMEs, SBI record shows the NPA could be 10-11%, and it has to be recovered from good people. So the pricing has to be reasonable. So I think we need to have more funding, and more funding will come if the pricing is reasonable, not 24%, maybe 14, 15, 16%, which they can afford to do. Second, the MSMEs don't get paid. Now government must pass a rule that all public sector, state electricity boards, and anything to do with government will pay the MSMEs within 15 days of supply. Why should the government take 45 days? Why should the state government take 60 days, 70 days? Because, they go by tender and they don't get paid. The tendering is electronic, but payment is delayed because of various reasons. You know how it is, right? Very difficult because there's rent seeking there, and that must go. Somebody should monitor it. Suppose the MSMEs get payment on time, then it will be okay. Third, we need a law to be passed that all MSMEs should be paid mandatorily within 30 days, and if they don't pay, big companies should give them interest at 1.5 times the bank rate. So there'll be a penalty for them, because today all big companies misuse the credit of MSMEs. MSMEs are helpless. They have to sell, so they misuse it. So I think it's very important for the government to have a law, because that will take care. The third big problem they have is marketing. And here, there is a very interesting model which India should try. That is, Alibaba in China has got crores of startups, MSMEs and others on the portal to market. So I think we should have a big aggregator or a portal where MSMEs can come and market. For example, Udaan has come for B2B. Like that, Flipkart is doing it for B2C. We need many more to come. And people like you should talk to aggregators and ask them to come and help your own companies get on the portal, because then they can reach customers. They will take care of the supply chain and they'll take care of the payment. And the aggregators charge a small fee, and that will help. And the last thing, which is very important, is we need a special fund for MSMEs to upgrade technology. For example, today, 3D printing has become the norm for creating new products, because you design a new product on the PC and then you print it out and you know what is happening. So tools, jigs and all can be done very easily. You must give them access to design centers where they can design good products, because creating products is very difficult. So I think we must create a R&D fund, and we must have a place where they can come and they get the best of machine tools, the best of design, for them to come and create new products. So like a design center in every district, where equipment will be available with incubators, where they can go and work on all these machines and get their products together, because they can't afford to buy those machines. Machines are expensive. So it can be centralized and leased to them or given to them at low rates through somebody like an incubator. If you're able to do all this, the MSMEs will scale up in a very high manner. So to me, these are some of the things that have to be done, but these are all localized problems, because each state, each district needs to have this to help the MSMEs in that particular district.
Yeah, thank you so much for the suggestions, sir. I think these are some very pinpointed suggestions, and we will definitely record a bite and send it to Suresh Prabhu, sir, that these were the answers, these were the points that you had to mention, and because he had to go to some other meeting and your connection was disrupted.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thank you, sir, for the elaborated answer. Now, one personal question, from most of our engineers, because they most of the RGPV students and most of the engineers in Madhya Pradesh, they know your background. So they requested us to put these questions, include this question. So this question is a bit personal, but from working in a corporate giant like Infosys and then to starting an educational institute, so your journey must have been very interesting. So for the interest of our viewers, we would like to know more about your journey. How was your experience? If you want to share something with our students about your journey and the transformation from, working for a corporate giant to starting something in the education sector.
So let me say, my mother is a school teacher. My father, who is now deceased, worked in a small company. So we were, an ordinary middle-class family. We got good education. And my mother, being a school teacher, had told us that we had to get 100 and be first in class. So there was no debate. There was nothing else. So you had to be first. If you get 99 in mathematics, you used to ask, why didn't you get 100? So it was a typical middle-class household. Like all of us have come from similar households where there is focus on academic excellence. And my mother, being a teacher, had a library card. So I used to go to the library and read books, any kind of book. So there's an innate sense of curiosity in learning about science, technology, about geography, history, everything. Whatever book was available, we used to go and read. It's an enormous amount of reading, and we had curiosity, and that is the way. Then we used to play sports, etc. Then I took commerce because I didn't want to be a doctor and didn't want to go into engineering. I took commerce. I thought it would be easy, and I became a chartered accountant. And then when I was studying commerce, I used to read annual reports. My father was a shareholder in a few companies. I collected 3,000 annual reports. By the time I was 21, I had a 3,000 annual reports. I read all of them. And US reports, other countries' reports. So I used to go to shareholders meeting and ask questions. Then I finished my CA. I set up practice because I didn't want to be an employee anywhere. Then a friend of mine asked him to run a company called Prakash Leasing. I ran the company from 86 to 93. And in 92, I met Narayan Murthy and Nandan. Then I went to the shareholders meeting, asked them questions. I went to the analyst meeting, asked them questions. Then they came and told me, why don't you come and become CFO? So I said, I'll be a consultant, not a CFO, because I didn't want to be an employee. I was very independent minded. I used to talk back to people. And, I didn't want to say yes, sir, to anybody. So they accepted me. Then I joined them full time as CFO. And the good part of Infosys is a meritocracy, where everybody was asked their opinion and the best ideas won, not based on a designation. You could argue back with Narayan Murthy, you never felt anything because we're all the same. We had no special toilets, no special eating places. We all went to the cafeteria. And we had, of course, different responsibilities. We worked. And we had this dream of building the best company in the world. Not the largest company, because large is very, very difficult. You need money and all that. The best company. So in every facet of work, we created standards. Whether it is in technology, is in HR, is in campuses, it is in finance, investor relations, everything we created our best standards, and we led India for 20 years. In every practice you see, Infosys has been first. You come to one of our campuses, you'll find what a difference it is. You go to Mysore, where we built the world's largest global university, you'll wonder what it is. We had one time, I had 650 computer science faculty reporting to me. 650. We should train 30,000 people in the software in 26 weeks. And in 26 weeks, they were among the best in the world. They could work anywhere in the world. Okay, we hired them to a test. And very importantly, they came from all kind of backgrounds. At one time, Mysore produced more software engineers than any country in the world barring the United States and China. So we had this passion of excellence. We had this passion, everything. So I was CFO from 94 till 2011. Around 2010, I felt that I've been CFO long enough. I mean, 2006, I felt long enough. I mean, some other people should have it. Because, all of us felt if you have people who are very good reporting to you, they must get a day in the sun. You shouldn't hang on in the same position. So I vacated the chair, and Murthy told me I handle HR. So I handle HR, I handle education. I was handling infrastructure. We built those campuses. So we built, during my 5 years, we trained 200,000 people, hired 250,000 people, okay? Throughout the years of massive growth. So we did all that. And then after that, I said, I want to leave. And when I said, I want to leave, they're shocked. Why do you want to leave? I said, I want to do something else. I want my life back. Because it was 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, a lot of travel. And you could not have time to spend with your family. Your children grew up, so you wanted time back. But there was always this curiosity and the feeling for excellence. Then I left and we started a fund, Ranjan Pai and me. We set up 3 universities, one in Dubai, one in Malaysia, and one in Jaipur. So I was there in education. I was the FICCI Higher Education Chair. Then today we run 14 funds. We got 250 investments, so pre-Series A, Series A, etc. We got a total investment of $450 million within all the funds. So I think, it's been a great career. But I think what is important all the time is great passion, energy, curiosity, a search for excellence, a willingness to work hard. And the world is a very exciting place. So it's a very ordinary life.
Yeah, maybe an ordinary life, but extraordinary values and the experience. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts in the journey. And the second question, because you have seen startups, you have seen corporates, many of our students these days, they get multiple offers. They get offers from a company like Infosys, a big giant. They get offer from a startup, a local startup, or a fintech. So it's always a difficult choice for them whether to go for a established startup or whether to maybe a new startup or a established corporate giant. What should be your advice for these students? What should they do when they get multiple offers?
See, my advice to them is follow your dream. Every human being has got a dream, what they want to do with their life. Just follow your dream. Some of us have challenges because, we need a job because we want to earn money. We have to provide for a family. We have to educate our brothers and sisters. We are poor. So there is a problem. But whatever it is within that limitation, follow your dream. If your dream is to work in a big corporate, get a big position, work in a corporate. If your dream is to work in a tech company, to learn and become an entrepreneur 4 to 5 years later, work in a tech company. So I would say, just follow your dream. But once you join the organization, you must do very well. You must work extremely hard. You must be smart. Take the first 3 years of your life in a new company or a new enterprise as a learning experience. Learn everything to do and spend all your time adding to your wealth. You must have heard of Warren Buffett, who's one of the greatest investors in the world. He was asked a question once, what are the biggest investment an individual can make? And he said, the biggest investment the individual can make is training oneself, educating oneself to be better and better and better. So I think if you're able to do that, learn, so you'll be on top of it. And let me tell you, nobody can keep a good person down. You may not get promoted. People may ignore you. There could be favoritism. There could be nepotism, but nobody can keep you down because your work shows for itself. And once you are very good in your work, you're very smart, everybody wants you. Because, there's only so many smart people, so many very successful people. So you've got to build a career like this. But, follow your dream. Whatever you do, follow your dream and try to be happy.
All right, thank you so much for that word of advice. And the next question is about the education. As we have Vice Chancellor RGP, we had Anupam Chokse, who's an edupreneur himself. You have been very vocal about the transformation in education system in India. We want to understand from you the role of education system currently in India when it comes to promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. What kind of role you see and what kind of changes you want to bring into the education system of a country?
You see, our education system is based upon what I call education 2.0. Education 1.0 was the Gurukul system, the Academy of Greece, where there was the teacher, the student went and stayed with them, and the teacher taught everybody. Of course, we had great universities like Nalanda, and you'll be very surprised that university like Nalanda had a Dwarapal, a gatekeeper. Students used to come from all over the world and walk up to the Dwarpal. And the Dwarpal will ask you questions. If you don't answer the question, he won't let you inside to meet the faculty. So there was a merit-based system then, even then. So, education was highly prized. So I think education 2.0 was based upon the Industrial Revolution. In the Industrial Revolution, there's massive growth. There's the age of machines. So what did they want? There was a professor who's read all the books. So you needed a lot of students to come because there was mass education. Students came to a class, the professor taught them, they took the note, they wrote an exam, they got a piece of paper, they got a job. Why was that? Because society wanted a large number of people. And at those point of time, very few read all the books. So you had a group of people called the faculty and the teachers, and it was a very difficult job because they should read, they should get PhDs, masters, and very few people could afford to do it or did it. So they were the teachers. The broadcast system, one to many. Now, many of the limitations of education 2.0 has been solved. What are the limitations? One, the availability of knowledge. Information, knowledge, lectures, videos are available for free on the internet. Everything is available, right? You don't have to cram everything into your head, put it into your hard disk and recall from memory. Second, okay, there are very large number of institutions available with the different courses, etc. And the third important thing which has happened because of all these things is that the need for different kind of people is very wide. Employment opportunities have gone up tremendously. So the limitations of the earlier model have gone. So today, what do we need in higher education? We need a higher education institute which has offline, online education with a lot of flexibility. So a student can take a degree in nuclear science with a minor in dance, music, and logic. Because you have to develop a left side and right side of your brain, right? You need to have a sense of aesthetics, a sense of beauty and innovation, creativity, also with the sense of logic. It's very difficult to do both, but if you have a bit of both, it helps. So you got to give them flexibility, and the flexibility was not available earlier because faculty was limited. Now we can do offline, online education. I was speaking to Dr. Anil Sastabudhe of AICT. He is saying we are allowing 20% offline. Now we're going to give you 40%. We're going to change everything. Second, you got to teach them problem-solving skills because today information is available, knowledge is available. So you got to have flipped classrooms. Give them all the teaching material and tell them you go read and come. We will discuss in class. We'll do case studies in class, and you can do that. There's enough flexibility and discuss and talk and solve problems. Make it interactive so students get to know. They're talking, they're thinking, they're doing everything. University in Antigua Medical School, we did an interesting experiment. Instead of having a teacher who came and lectured, we made a group of 10 students sit on a round table and they studied for 2 hours a particular subject where all of them were discussing, and then the teacher was going around answering the question. The output was much better. So what you must do is you must have more discussions, more mentoring, more tutorship in classes. That's the second one. And the third one, you must give them more projects to do. They must learn through projects, not learn theory, because theory they don't understand. If they apply the theory to project, they will know. For example, they must get, an opportunity to take a car and disassemble a car. Why can't they disassemble a car, assemble a car? Because the car is an assembled product. They will understand the role of everything, how it works. So they must do a lot more projects where they use their hands, because engineering is all about hands. Even if you do anything else, the application knowledge also is very, very important. And then you must have an assessment program which is based upon an open system. Why do you have a 3-hour exam where everybody has got to remember and write down everything else? Why can't you have an open book exam? So semesters can be open book exam. A lot of things can be there where you can set good questions. They can make you think. You got to do all that. And the last point which you must do is you must encourage a lot of personality development, because the student should get all the skills which reflect what society needs in a student who comes out of a college. Now, most people will want to go for a job. When you go for a job, what do you need? Qualities in the student. You need the student to have a problem-solving ability. You need the student to know how to think, how to structure, how to use data, how to analyze and come to a solution. You need the student to know how to communicate, how to talk, how to work with people, how to negotiate. Then you need the student to come and have HR skills, how to work with teams, and how to make sure that you can interact with everybody else. And then you need the student to have some creativity. So all this will come if you develop all the skills and the information and all you give is stuff them right now in college, they can get it easily on the internet, on Google. They can Google and get it, right? They can just go to somewhere and see it, and they don't have to remember everything. But they got to know where to get it. So you got to create a different kind of skill, which you call education 3.0. So for that, universities should have more autonomy. Now, the national ranking framework, government hopefully will give them more autonomy. So professors and vice chancellors like Sunil Kumar will set their own curriculum, will set their own things, and go on their own path, whatever it is. And second, we need a national foundation for research so that every university can apply for grants on a competitive basis and get a grant for doing research, because research is important to create new knowledge. Now, we must understand all professors can't do research. Telling every professor to research is not possible at all. In some universities, maybe 30%, in some maybe 20%, some maybe 10%. So we got to do that. And that's why we suggested from FICCI, we need three kinds of universities: research-based universities, teaching-based universities, where there's less research, more teaching, and we need community colleges where people get just lifetime skills, where they can go get a small degree in arts or whatever it is, where they can get it. And you need a research funding. And the last thing, you need technology. All universities should imbibe technology, offline, online courses, and LMS, etc. So I think we need a new kind of university which can give flexibility for all of them. And the ultimate dream is I go into a particular university, I register, I talk to my professor and choose my subjects. Then the professor tells me we can do only so many courses here. Other courses we don't have. Then I should tell him, and then he should suggest to me, these are all the universities where we are affiliated to run those courses. You can either go there and do the course or do it offline, online, and get credits. You collect all the credits and come. They will assess you. Come to me. So long as you do 30-40% of the credits here, I will give credit for all that and give you a degree. So I can do what I want. I got flexibility. Once I got flexibility to learn what I want, I'm very interested. Now you are trusting everything on me. You're putting a structure on me. It's uninteresting. I'm not applying my mind. I'm not doing things on my own. So I think we need to change the way things are. And that is the dream. Part of it is happening. Part of it will take time.
Yeah, I think so many great points. Even if we incorporate half of them, I'm sure the system is going to go places. So, sir, I think we're already overshooted by 8 minutes. But with your permission, I would like to ask one more question, if that is permitted.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Sir, it's about the startup failure rate. I mean, because in our society, failures are not that much appreciated. So people, they somehow hesitate to experiment. And startup journey is also some kind of experimentation. They need to learn it. Even if they fail, they learn something. But that is not accepted in our society. That is the reason when a student wants to start his company or her company, they feel that, if I fail, the acceptance is not there. So they don't want to start their startup. So what should they do, in order to avoid this hesitance and just start it? And what kind of social change we need in our society to accept these failures in startups?
Well, let me tell you, I live in Bangalore. It's a different world. In Bangalore, if you fail, it's fine, so long as you try. We have so many founders who come to us after doing 2 or 3 startups is not work. What do we look for? Can they actually do the job? And if somebody has failed somewhere, not because they didn't try, but whatever happened, the idea didn't work, then it's quite fine. It's okay. You back them up. So I think Bangalore has seen the change. But if you defraud, if you do something wrong, then of course people don't like you. But if you've tried everything and you got a good reputation, people know you, it's perfectly fine. So I think the cultural change comes in a big, vibrant system. In small systems, it's very difficult because small systems, the opportunities itself are limited. So you got to do. So what we got to tell our young people is that you try it out and make sure it works. If it does not work, it is fine. Come back so long as you try. That's why we need a grant giving mechanism where you give grants to young people to try out some idea. And once you give grants, they know that if it fails, it's perfectly fine. But if you take money from people as capital, and if you fail, they'll want the money back. That's the problem. So we got to create more grant giving, small grant giving mechanism. So the student will try, do something, and he only knows it's not going to work. He or she knows not going to work. They'll do something else, and they got a lot more opportunities. So I think we got to change the way these things are done and not make them raise capital where people will say, what have you earned from me? And there it becomes tough, because if you fail, you lost somebody's money. And you lost somebody's money, then people will be upset, oh, you lost my money. And that will be a bad PR. Even though in Bangalore, other places, we all accept, yeah, you put 10 bets, maybe you lose 1 or 2, it's perfectly fine. It's okay, we write it off, because we go on investing more only in successful companies. So I think you need to create that ecosystem, and the ecosystem has got to be large enough, and you've got to work through grants so that people actually experiment. Because people hesitate to experiment if they don't get grants, they don't know what to do, because living is very tough, right? So I think you've got to change the way things do, and we've got to create case studies where people failed once, twice, thrice, and did well. And all of us have got some failures in your life. It's perfectly okay. And this 90% is not correct, okay? 90% failure rate is for them to earn 4x, 5x. Our history shows 10 to 15% fail and shut down, 25 to 30% return capital, another 25, 30% give from 1x to 5x, and maybe 10% give 10x and more. So I think the data is slightly more.
So, sir, my team and I would personally like to connect with you regarding the grant stuff, because we have so many entrepreneurs from rural sector. We have students, they want to experiment, and we want to, explore.
But you must talk to government. See,
Sure.
grants have to come from public finances, because you must talk to government. You must talk to, Madhya Pradesh CM and others and IT secretary and say, like Karnataka has done, create every year 100 crore grant and, give it to all the incubators. You must go meet Niti Aayog and tell them they got money for grants. That's why you must develop expertise how to get grants. Grants are available, not too much. They're available, but you must know how to tap into the system. And I always tell every state government where I work, create grants. Vasundhara Raje did it. Karnataka has done that. Kerala has done that. So all states have to do, because that's the way to foster innovation. Because, this is public money to be given for grants to foster creativity and entrepreneurship. After all, they're your taxpayers. They're your own students. You must support them. If you don't support them, who's going to support them? I think you got to do all this.
So I think we have got those pillars here, right here. We have the government representative, we have CEO Smart City, we have RGPV Vice Chancellor from the Education Institute. So I think we have got all the ingredients here. And definitely we're going to raise a voice about the grant for students and grant for the rural sector startups. And I'm hopeful that that's going to do wonders for these startups. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. If CEO Smart City, RGP Vice Chancellor or Anush sir has a question for you, just maybe a quick question if they have. Any of you, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mohandas Pai, sir. It was really a very good session, and I think it is one of the best session of our startup Pathshala. And from last 30 days, we are trying to create an ecosystem. And when we started, it was really a very little initiative. We were not looking that we will go, we will do our journey in this way. So thank you very much. And thank you for all the panelists, Professor Sunil Kumar sir, Anuj Garg, and CK for conducting a very good session. And we will look forward for more of like this session, which is going to help our incubation center. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time.
Vice Chancellor sir would like to say something. Sunil sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Paisa, मैं एक question पूछना चाहता था. I wanted to ask you one question, a small question. In this COVID-19 phase, US is also facing a lot of recession and all that, but still they are funding their citizens and they are paying $2,000 per week to each and everyone. They are monetizing their deficit. So why India cannot go in that path wherein they can monetize their deficit? They are not doing it as of now, and they are not supporting the way the people would like to be supported in this difficult period. What is your opinion?
You see, if you look at data, out of the 20 lakhs, only 1.5, maybe 2 lakhs, 2.5 lakh crores, 20 lakh crores, 2.5 lakh crores is monetization. I mean, is a deficit. The rest is all liquidity support that government is giving. The problem with the government of India is we are not sure how long this will last, what more is required. We are not sure. As it is, there's a 30% decline in revenues, tax revenues. So deficit this year between center and state will be 11% of GDP as against 6%. Expect a 6%. It's going to be 5% more as it is because their tax revenues have fallen off. Now, before the end of the year, it could go up another 3 or 4%. So government is taking care of 80 crore people who are poor, giving them rations, giving them money, doing this for them, giving them that Marega work, this work, that work. Prime Minister said 50,000 crores for all the migrants, etc. So nothing has been done for the middle class, and the middle class is, feeling left out for whatever it is. So I think we have to go on talking to government in the hope that they will do something for the middle class, because a lot of the middle class and lower middle class too have suffered. They require some relief. So I think we should do that, but we should wait some time, because the first priority for India is we got to take care of 80 crore people. They're poor. They got nothing. Right? You saw them walking and all that, right? So that's the first priority for society. Now the next priority should come once they are taken care of. Now the situation has stabilized somewhat. So let's wait and see. And also, we are not a rich country like America. America can print notes. UK can print notes. The EU can print notes. Japan is, 20% of GDP deficit. They got money. They're giving away money, because for them nothing happens, right? So for us, we have to try. It will happen, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody.
Just
Yes,
a quick statement from my side. I really thank Mr. Mohandas Pai for accepting the invitation we sent, and this phenomenal startup class. This is the last class of the startup Pathshala. It has got the right crown at the last to conclude with 15,000 aspiring students looking at you.
Yeah, Anuji.
You have changed the entire scenario from like a movement of education, and we really would like to be connected with you, taking your
Yeah, Anuji.
guidance.
Are you there?
So
Yeah, tell me. Yes, Anuji. You're on mute.
so we will be definitely in touch, I think. And CK, hats off to your the efforts of Startup Pathshala.
Anuji, you're on mute.
No, sir.
I can't hear you.
I'm not on mute, sir. I think there's some connectivity issue. So I just thank you, sir, for this great coming down. CK, if you can take it forward from here.
So thank you so much,
CK, you are on
Mohan
mute.
sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Suresh Prabhu sir, Mohandas Pai sir,
I
for
can't hear
giving your time, for talking to our students. Thank you, CEO Smart City. Thank you, Vice Chancellor sir, Anuj Garg sir, and the YI National Chair. Mohan sir, if you can hear us, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but if you are hearing, it was really a wonderful session. We all enjoyed it thoroughly, and we really wish that we could have got more time from you, but whatever we got, that was wonderful. It was a great experience, sir.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Everybody
It was an
namaskar.
experience for life. Thank you, sir. Thank you, VC sir, Ashish sir, CK. Thank you, Ashish sir.
Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you, sir.
It was really a very good session. CK, it was really a very good session, and I think I enjoyed it, and everybody I think enjoyed this. It was really a very good session.
So we officially, sir, we want you to officially close this Pathshala, CK and you.
Yeah.
Today is the last day. Yes. Have some. And CK, we want to hear how are you going to give the certificates tomorrow? Let's not.
I think
Sir.
I'm looking forward for tomorrow's session, and I think it is again going to be a good session, because we have Director of Smart City, Rahul Kapoor sir is there, Narhari sir is there, and of course Smriti Irani ma'am is there. And I think tomorrow it is going to be a very good session. So looking forward for it. And thank you very much from Smart City and Incubation team. Thank you very much.
Sure. Our National
Thank you,
Vice Chair, Smita Agarwal, will also join in. And CK, hats off. ये लास्ट क्लास है. हमारे प्रिंसिपल, हमारे टीचर CK साहब इसको कंक्लूड करें तो बहुत अच्छा लगेगा.
Yeah. I'm not a teacher, I'm a student. जो मैं पहले दिन से बोल रहा हूँ कि जितना आप सब सीखते हैं इन मेंटोर से, इन एक्सपर्ट से, उतना ही मैं भी सीखता हूँ. एंड आई लव टू लर्न ऑल द टाइम. इट वाज अ ग्रेट जर्नी. आप लोगों का सपोर्ट बहुत सराहनीय था. लीडरशिप का सपोर्ट तो ऑब्वियसली हमेशा से रहा है स्मार्ट सिटी. फॉर ऑल द व्यूअर्स टू नो, इट वाज क्यूरेटेड एट जबलपुर इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर by Ashish Pathak sir, and then we got support from various partners, especially YICI Bhopal, and then RGPV Vice Chancellor sir, Click, so CAGF. It was a great collaboration from all of us, and the journey has been wonderful. It was great. Now आपके जो क्वेश्चंस आप लोग पूछ रहे हैं कि सर्टिफिकेट्स कैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होंगे, सर्टिफिकेट्स आप लोगों को ऑनलाइन कल दिए जाएंगे स्मृति ईरानी मैम के द्वारा. वी विल रिलीज अ पोर्टल लिंक जहां पे जाके आप अपना मोबाइल नंबर डालेंगे, अपना नाम डालेंगे, आपको
वो हम
सर्टिफिकेट
कल ऑनलाइन बताएंगे. सबको आना कंपलसरी है, वो आप मत बताइए. जो
Alright,
प्रेजेंट
so we
होगा
are-
उसको अपना ईमेल आईडी लिखना होगा और तभी वो सर्टिफिकेट उसको मिलेगा. So
Right. Oh.
that is I took a catch.
Yes, and we could not ask all your questions. आपके क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छे थे. We really appreciate आप लोगों का जो constant feedback है. We got hundreds of emails daily on our official Gmail ID, startuppathshala@gmail.com. Thank you so much for pouring love and the support was phenomenal. और कल का सेशन हम और अच्छा करने की कोशिश करेंगे. We will try to take more questions from you. आपको जो क्विज लिंक की लोगों ने बात की 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, आप सभी लोगों को सारे क्विज लिंक आज फेसबुक के पेज पे मिल जाएंगे. आप आज की रात सारे क्विज एंजॉय कीजिए एंड कल we will celebrate the grand graduation day with our esteemed panelists and guests. So that's it from my side.
हम
today.
100 जो सर 100
sir.
आइडिया सेलेक्ट करें उसके बारे में भी आप कुछ बोलेंगे. कब कल अनाउंस
Right.
होंगे सर?
राइट कल
Question
हम
है.
100 जी जो हमने 100 आइडिया सिलेक्ट किए, हमारी टीम ने सिलेक्ट किए, कल वो सारे 100 आइडिया हम रिवील करेंगे. हम उन सभी स्टार्टअप्स के नाम रिवील करेंगे. बट जिनका नाम नहीं है, काफी लोगों ने क्वेश्चन पूछे कि क्या हमें सपोर्ट मिलेगा. ये पूरी पाठशाला आपके लिए है. सपोर्ट आपको मिलेगा. हमारा इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर है हमारे पास. हमने वर्चुअल इंक्यूबेशन सपोर्ट अनाउंस किया हुआ है. जिसका आइडिया कल नहीं आता है, कई लोगों का फोन नंबर नहीं लगा, हम लोगों ने फोन किया, आप लोगों ने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया. आइडिया बहुत अच्छा हो सकता है बट वी नीड टू कनेक्ट विथ यू. अगर समहाउ वो कनेक्ट नहीं बन पाया है, डोंट वरी. हम लोग यहाँ रहने वाले हैं मध्य प्रदेश में. वी वांट टू वर्क विथ यू. वी वांट टू स्ट्रेंथन द स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम ऑफ मध्य प्रदेश. जिनका आइडिया कल नहीं शामिल किया जाएगा टॉप 100 में, वो भी हमारे साथ काम कर सकते हैं. उनको भी हम ग्रांट देंगे. आज मोहनदास भाई सर ने बहुत अच्छी बातें बताई कि स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, रूरल सेक्टर के स्टार्टअप्स के लिए ग्रांट्स अवेलेबल हैं. ऑल वी नीड टू डू इज कनेक्ट द डॉट्स. और वो कनेक्ट द डॉट करने के लिए हम लोग हैं, हमारे मेंटर्स हैं, हमारे सीनियर्स हैं, हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स हैं. वी विल डू दैट फॉर यू. तो कल जिनका आइडिया सिलेक्ट नहीं भी होगा, डोंट लूज होप. हम आपके साथ काम करेंगे. हम वो लिंक को वापस ओपन करेंगे और आप लोगों के आइडियाज हम कंटिन्यूअसली लेते जाएंगे. यू कीप इन टच. हमारी टीम से आप कांटेक्ट बना के रखिए. वी वांट टू हेल्प यू एंड वी विल हेल्प यू टुगेदर. You people and we will make the startup ecosystem of Madhya Pradesh and the neighbor states stronger. I think we have tried answering all your questions. अगर फिर भी कोई क्वेश्चन रह गया हो, feel free to reach out to us on our email. Social handles पे सारे क्वेश्चंस के जवाब दे पाना मुश्किल होता है. Though our team try, but हर बार possible नहीं हो सकता है. So Anush sir, I think we have answered all the questions. And we really look forward to see these people tomorrow, see everybody tomorrow for this grand graduation day.
और हमारा सर हमारा ईमेल आईडी हमेशा ऑन रहेगा. आप इसके बाद भी हमसे कनेक्ट में रहें. स्टार्टअप पाठशाला किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में आपसे कनेक्टेड रहेगा. मे बी सर हम वीक में एक बार एक कोई बीच में स्पीकर्स लाएंगे, बिकॉज आप मिस करेंगे तो हम भी आपको मिस करेंगे. थैंक यू सीके. कमेंडेबल एफर्ट्स, अ ग्रेट एफर्ट, अ बिग अप्लॉज टू सीके. It's all yours and incubation master doing rocket.
A constant mentor of mine. I don't have too many mentors in my life. I have only a couple of them, or maybe 3 of them, and Anush sir is one of my mentors. All right, then see you guys tomorrow, and you guys take good care of yourself. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you, Anush sir.